don't see any online. 2 are changes, deletions to the agenda. Any additions? Seeing none, can I have a mover to adopt the agenda? Moved by Melba, seconded by Dale. In favor? Yeah, all in favor? Motion is passed. And first, in number 3 is our delegations. And first we have Ron Jameson, who's providing an update on Sovereign Wealth, the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Ron, if we can have you come up to this seat here, and you can see where the little mic comes out of on the left is a button, and when it's red, you can speak. Just by a little background, it's been a while. Do you remember back, oh gosh, maybe 8 years ago? For Ontario, they were having severe fiscal shortage, like we all face, and in need of an infusion of cash for their infrastructure, which was falling apart, much like ours. So I think it was Wynne was the premier at the time, if I recall, and decided that they would privatize Hydro One, which was a Crown corporation. Of course, there was much debate at the time, but that is what happened. And as a result of that privatization of Hydro One, shares were offered. And the First Nations leadership at the time were negotiating with the province to see, what about us? We should have a share in these resources. To make a long story short, the First Nations in Ontario were each given an opportunity to be part of the share purchase for First Nations. And going forward, what was set up were to sort of look after, if I've got it correctly, Ron, there was a sovereign wealth fund established to have oversight over our funds. And I believe, Ron, that's what you're here today to give us an update on how are we doing. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I'll turn this on. I don't know if I need it, but I'll turn it on anyway. Oh, okay. All right, great. Well, listen, thank you for your time. I appreciate an opportunity to come and bring you up to speed on the Sovereign Wealth Fund. We recently, actually on July the 4th, had our AGA held at the Marriott Hotel near the Toronto Airport in the afternoon. We normally try to work with the OFNLP schedule, which this is the gaming revenue schedule. And that meeting takes place in the morning, and then usually around 1 o'clock, approximately, we make a presentation to all the chiefs. So your chief was there, Chief Sherry was there. And I suggested to her it might be a good time for me to bring the whole council up to date on what's going on. So she agreed. So that's how I got here. But let me take you back, and thank you, Cynthia, for the introduction, but let me take you back a bit. The deal to acquire these shares was actually struck. In your note, it says 2017. In actual fact, the deal did not close until January the 2nd, 2018. But, that's 2017, 2018, doesn't matter. But this was after a significant negotiation between the chiefs of Ontario and the provincial leadership in this case, Kathleen Wynne. Anyway, it was decided that we would be gifted a loan of $259 million from the province of Ontario to purchase 14,391,000 shares of Hydro One at $18 a share. Now that was under the market value at that time, so we got a further lift there. It was actually the market value at that time was $20. So we purchased at 18. So we got an initial bonus up for that. And the loan is a fixed rate loan for 25 years at 3.15%, which is Ontario's borrowing rate. And it's a very, very advantageous shall we say, interest rate. I mean, you can't get money today at 3.15%. And so we were really favored in this transaction in that way. In addition to money to buy the 14 million plus shares of Hydro One, we were also granted an additional $29 million, what we call seed capital. And that was to set up the organization, to pay the board of directors over time, and look after all the administrative functions of the transaction. And so we did that. All the First Nations in Ontario had an opportunity to participate in that, but only 129 did. And, you know, Saugeen didn't go in. I have no reason, I have no idea why they wouldn't, because, you know, the interest rate is 3%. The value of the annual revenue generated by Hydro One in the form of dividends is higher than 3.15%. So it's a no-brainer that you would go ahead and proceed with this. And furthermore, the Ontario government did not envision that they would be repaid anytime soon. So it was a win-win as far as, and I remember when Chief Ava called me about that and said, you know, what do you think about this transaction? I said, jump on it, because it's a no loss situation for our community and for the other communities that participated. The door is now closed on those communities that didn't participate. You know, they can't come back now and say, oh, I changed my mind. We want in. So it's not possible. So we set up a structure, and you'll see it in your slide decks. I assume everybody has that, Becky, eh? Yeah, there it is there, yeah. So there's 129 First Nation partners, and the ownership entity was created, which is the Ontario First Nation Sovereign Wealth Fund Board, of which I'm a member at the request of Ava. I'm also a major part of the finance committee for the organization. So the dividends flow in, but you know, and over time, the Hydro One shares have done very well over that period of time, and this will be the next slide. So the Hydro One shares have performed very well from, well, it says 2017, but 2018 to 2022, creating significant wealth for the First Nations. In fact, as of this morning, the value of a one share of Hydro One is $44. And remember that we had the opportunity to buy it at 18. Now, as good as that sounds, and it is very good, that it's done really well, the board, in their wisdom, felt that we should diversify the portfolio. I think we're all familiar with the old term, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So we ascribe to that, and I think some of you probably are aware that that used to be my background. I was the president of a brokerage firm in Toronto for a number of years. So I was one of the drivers to do that, to diversify away from Hydro One. Not that Hydro One hasn't performed, it certainly has. But you know, if something goes wrong with that one company, you'll be penalized significantly. So we embarked then on a review of all the investment managers that we could, to come and make a presentation to the board about what they could do for us. And, you know, the Royal Bank was there, Bank of Montreal was there, and a couple of others, and also including a firm by the name of Connor, Clark and Lund. They're an independent firm. They're not associated with any bank. In fact, they manage money for banks. So, but a lot of people aren't familiar with the name Connor, Clark and Lund, but they are extremely well-run organization. I know this because on another board I sit on, they manage the funds for our pension fund, and it's very large, this pension fund. So, and they've done a stellar job. So after some discussion, we decided to have them act as our brokerage, our in-house brokerage firm, which, and they're doing a wonderful job. So the idea was to take the dividends and invest them outside of Hydro One together with other funds. So we started selling Hydro One shares and then converting it into these other investment vehicles. So as I say, Connor, Clark, and Lunn have done a great job, and we're very pleased with them. So if you look at the investment performance slide, which is the next one, you can see what's happened from 2018 till currently. And, that doesn't even reflect that the Hydro One shares are $44 now, because this slide is a couple months old, but, it's pretty current. But you can see that since 2018 to currently, it's gone from a total of 321 million to 634 million. And so that is stellar return. And so we're going to continue on that track of, on a gradual basis, liquidating some Hydro One shares into a broader investment portfolio. That's very good for the Sovereign Wealth Fund because you're not betting on one particular stock at any time. Now, we still have a lot of Hydro One shares remaining. So, and we just want to do it judiciously, meaning to have the best timing we can to sell shares in the market and convert it into other opportunities. So far so good. And if you look at the next slide with the header wealth creation, you can see that, first of all, I should explain to you that we have not paid any principal on the Hydro One loan that the government of Ontario granted to us. And there's a good reason for that, because the money is so cheap, you don't want to start paying it back with money you're making, because you can reinvest it, but it's just so cheap to use Ontario's money that it's just perfect. So at some date in the future, we will pay off. Like if we paid off our loan right now, we would be, instead of having $634 million in overall, we would have 250,000 or 250 million, approximately, less than that number. So we see no advantage in repaying the Ontario government. And they agree. We met with them a few times because they kind of had to bless our strategy. They want to make sure they have collateral on their loan. So we've met with them a few times, and they agree that our strategy is the right one, even though Hydro One is a great investment opportunity. It's not the only one. So we have embarked on this, and it's gone very, very well. And then, let me see here. So, we've had a few communities come to the Sovereign Wealth Board. A couple stood up at the AGA and said, well, when are we going to get this money distributed to the First Nation communities? And so there's a proviso within our loan that we cannot distribute until the initial seed capital, which was 29 million, reaches a value of $90 million or 12 years, whichever comes first. 12 years would make it 2030. So we've got a number of years here yet before we consider distributing the profits to First Nation communities. And right now, if you distributed it, it's not all, it sounds like a lot of money, but if you cut it over 129 partners, it really isn't. It's not anything like, for example, the OFNLP, the gaming revenue, which is substantially more, okay, over that number of communities. So we feel that we're going to keep doing our job and hopefully get it up to a point where it will be very easy for us to repay Ontario and make a distribution to First Nation communities. But as I say, we're a number of years or dollars from that point. So that is really the crux of my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions that people have.
Dale.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. One question I got, I guess, and it's maybe a little futuristic in a sense of when it comes time for distribution, is there some kind of a formula that's been developed or something has to be worked on yet in relation to how that's going to work?
We'll have to develop that, Dale, and I would expect that it would be along the lines of the OFNLP, because as you remember, Dale, that there was a heavy negotiation in that, you know. You know, the remote community's got a bit more and the larger community. So I actually don't know the answer to that question, but, you know, I would expect it would be in a similar formula to OFNLP, because a lot of work went into making that decision, so we wouldn't want to upset it. The only difference is that there will be fewer communities because not everybody signed up. We've only got 129 that have signed up. So that might increase the amount, you know, accordingly, but it wouldn't be terribly significant, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Who's down there? Who's back? Oh, Hazel.
Hazel, yeah.
What other investment strategies did you go with from some of the Hydro One shares?
It's a very diversified, very broad number of companies, all very high quality, all dividend payers. That's one of the criterias I've actually used personally in my own finances over the years. You know, you want a company that's solid, okay? You want a company that pays dividends that are ever increasing each year, and you want to do an assessment of their likelihood to carry on business. And so these other companies are very, very high quality companies that we've invested in, at least as high quality as Hydro One. So, and many of them are, we have, you know, some is in the banks, some is in environmentally positive things like wind and solar and nuclear, I would have to say. And so they're really a broad diversification. And that means, that's important, because if one of those companies in that portfolio fails, even after the assessments have been thorough and all, you know, you never know in the world today with investments, one could fail. But it's so broadly diversified that we would hardly notice it in our portfolio. So that's why we wanted to move away from Hydro One. As good as it's a great company, it's doing great work, and they're very successful, but something could go wrong. So we wanted to move away from that. And now, mind you, we still have millions, hundreds of millions of shares remaining in Hydro One. We're down to about 11 million shares of Hydro One itself. So it's, and we hope they keep doing well. But meanwhile, we will diversify as we can and sell shares and diversify. We still collect the dividends from Hydro One. So that's important because that pays the cost of our note that's owed to the Ontario government. So we're very positive. We feel that we're in very good shape, and we think we're managing the money prudently. We got some very good people on the board, and yes, Hazel.
Do you have a guesstimation of when it comes time to disperse the funds, how Six Nations will have, do you have any idea how much they may get?
You know, I can't answer that question, Hazel, because, you know, I know that it's gone from 230 odd million initially to over 624 million. So it's more than doubled, okay, in 6 years.
So it could be up to $1 billion, and
Pardon?
it could grow up to $1 billion.
Absolutely it
till
could.
that time,
In
yeah.
fact, that's my personal belief, that when we get to 2030, it will be $1 billion. So that's a lot of money, but it's still going to get divided up in some basis of formula. So, but it's been a very, very good investment. And as I say, we have the best advisors, the best legal counsel, et cetera, to guide us. Oh,
Sorry, Audrey, I couldn't see you up there. Audrey, ask your question.
They go Ron.
there you go.
My question is along the same lines. So the companies that you've chosen to divest in, are they doing and producing the same amount percentage-wise as Hydro One is? Like they've more than doubled. So that would be more than double for these other companies as well. And I guess what is our best lawyers and our best advisors saying about Hydro? Because Hydro is where everybody's leading to for the future.
Well, I can tell you this, Audrey, the other companies that we have invested in are growing rapidly. They're doing really well. Okay, so, and I could honestly say that all of them are not doing as well as Hydro One has done, since it went from 18 to $44, which is more than double, okay? But still, we're protecting the basic assets because it's diversified. And as I said earlier, if anything happens to Hydro One, they could be sued, there's any number of things that could happen. Then you would be if all your eggs were in that basket, in the Hydro One basket, you would be hurt significantly. So that's why we've diversified across literally hundreds of companies, very, very solid dividend payers who have prospects for bright futures. These are the companies that we have diversified away from Hydro One. So I feel very confident that, as Hazel just stated, by 2030, we could easily have $1 billion, which I would tell you that's kind of our internal target, to have $1 billion to be able to start talking about distribution at that time. So, but thanks for the question, Audrey.
You're very welcome, and thank you for the work you're doing and your board. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I have a question, Ron.
Sure.
My memory is not the best on this, but it seemed to me, I recall, there was an opportunity for a First Nation to want to sell their shares, thus creating an opportunity for another First Nation to buy their shares. Could you explain a little about that?
No, that was considered. That was considered. But if we start allowing some First Nations to cash out, I'll use that term, cash out, and others take over their position, it could become very messy. So we would rather, and it was mandated by the chiefs of Ontario at the time the deal was struck, that that couldn't happen, okay, until at least 2030, or until we have $90 million in the seed capital, which we started with 29 million. It's now at about 38. So we got some work to do yet.
Within those 6 years,
Yes,
such is possible.
yes.
And then it's also then would be possible, say Six Nations, for example, to buy the
Yes,
shares of another community.
it would be. Yes, it could be. That could be decided by some future council, or in fact this council, if that was their decision to do, could do it. But we feel, of course, that your investment is in good hands. We're Connor Clark and Lund. I invite you to check with anyone about Connor Clark and Lund, and they are premier fund managers. And we can call them up anytime and ask them, okay, what's the value today of everything? And they know right to the nickel. So they're good company, very good.
Does this company, Connor Clark,
Lund.
and Logan?
And Lund.
Lund. I would think report regularly to the board and
yes.
advise as to what's happened. So do they have, like, for example, value funds, value investments, growth investments? So they do a mix like that, because when one's down, the other's up, sort of thing,
Exactly right.
bonds,
That's
that whole
exactly right,
mix,
Cynthia.
right?
They have a broad diversification. So, and that's their whole strategy. I mean, and it makes perfect sense, because if you're invested in 300 companies instead of Hydro One, but if you're invested in 300 companies and one of them does not do well and say goes out of business, you will not be directly impacted. You might have a minor impact, but not directly. So, and it wouldn't be significant either. So that's an important question. So thanks for asking that one.
So also, I would think when you hired this particular company, you must have had set a goal. The board must have had a goal, like a minimum interest that they would expect of the course, a target.
Yes, our expectation was that they would exceed the market growth. They would be better than that. Okay, so that's one of the criteria we used. Plus other things, professional, what's the qualification of the people that are running it, et cetera, et cetera. So it was very thorough, I can tell you that, Cynthia. We spent a lot of time interviewing possible alternatives for money managers. And they came out on top every time.
Jennifer, as our finance director, do you have any questions you'd like to pose?
I was just wondering if I had access to the reports, the annual reports.
Yes, I can send you out, Jennifer, I can send that out to you, like all the detail.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to take a look.
Okay, no problem,
Yeah,
no problem, you can have that at any time. Okay, great, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you.
I'll send over the recent one.
Excellent.
The material that we covered at the AGA, I'll send you that,
Yeah,
which
that'd
is
be
pretty
perfect.
thorough. Okay, good.
Thank you.
See,
Thanks, Jennifer.
I
Dale?
just brought
Oh,
this.
I'm
I
sorry.
just- No, it's okay, I just brought this, you know, I didn't want to burden you with, you know, 25 sheets of paper, so I just thought I'd bring this, which is an overview, but captures, you know, the meat of it, so.
Melba?
Yeah, I'll just move to accept Ron Jameson's partner update with Ontario First Nation Sovereign Wealth Fund. Thank you, Ron, for looking over us.
Okay, thank you, Melba, thank you.
Dale? Second by Dale. All in favor, hands? Okay, motion is passed.
Thank you.
And, oh, sorry, Amos has a question over there.
Now that we're finished this, I want to ask about, should we be successful in our litigation? Would you be willing to help us, first of all?
Of course.
And secondly, I just wondered, would you advise at this point, we don't know what's going to happen, right? Would it be better to work with an organized or established brokerage firm or to set up our own if we're talking that kind of money?
It's very difficult, Amos, to set up your own, okay, you know. I mean, what I would be suggesting to council at that time would be to diversify across a number of firms, okay? Maybe Connor Clark and one could be one. BMO has capital markets, RBC capital markets. You know, there's a lot of choices. So my suggestion would be not just diversification on its own, but diversification across money managers, which I think would be the most prudent way. Because, you know, maybe I should just mention to you that outside the Sovereign Wealth Fund, you've heard of the Robinson Huron settlement, I'm sure, which was $10 billion, right? 10 billion, okay, which is nothing compared to what this community wants. I know that, okay? But I was the one that arranged the loan for Robinson Huron Treaty Group to advance their claim. Like what happened was they ran out of money, okay, and their law firm said, hey, you know, we got to get paid something here. I mean, we're carrying it. We're carrying all the legal expense. There's a great deal of research that goes into these things. So they came to me and they wanted to borrow, I think it was 11 million. So we arranged that. And there's 26 communities there though, Amos. So they each had some liability on this $10 million loan. And, but it worked. I mean, they got the claim finished and thankfully, you know, their negotiations with Ontario and Canada were successful. So that 10 billion, that's the largest settlement ever in Canada so far. Mm-hmm. There's going to be others. Hopefully ours is number one there, but but yeah, to answer your question directly, Amos, you know, I'd be pleased to meet with council at that time and make suggestions and et cetera, try to help. Yep.
Thanks for your questions, everyone. Just before I thank Ron, any others? Speak now or forever hold your peace, as they say.
I could do this annually, Cynthia, if council decides they want to. But it's not. We get some opportunity.
That is a good suggestion. When is your AGM?
It's in July usually. Whenever we sort of tag team with the OFNLP.
Mm-hmm.
Because people have to travel from all over the province.
I can't hear if anyone's talking.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I pushed the button too soon, Audrey.
No problem.
No, it's just that, it's, what was I saying? It was the joint meeting with OFNLP makes sense because a lot of the chiefs have to travel in from various places and to get to Toronto. And we wanted to do 2 meetings in the same day, which seems to be working. When we have the AGA, it takes about an hour and a half to maybe, depending on the questions, of course, an hour and a half to 2 hours. Yes, Hazel.
Yes, Hazel.
With the funding formula that's utilized right now for whatever we get here, and if they use that same funding formula when this comes time to disperse these, so that means, again, if nobody changes anything in between,
Right.
that Six Nations and the Northern Reserves will,
We'll all benefit. All 129 partners will benefit.
but I guess the point that I want to make is that we think that that funding formula does not suit Six Nations because of our population. And those Northern Reserves have smaller populations, so.
Well, they made the argument, I guess, back when OFNLP was formed. They said, well, because these communities are remote, okay, and more needy, if, that's a subjective comment. I mean, are they? I don't know, okay, but, however they figured that formula out, so far, Hazel, it seems to be working. Now, Six Nations got a large population. I mean, there'd be more than 25 communities in the north, wouldn't still add up to our population. So, I would be favorably disposed to having Six Nations get a larger share of the pot. But that's not going to be my decision to make. I think it'll be the chiefs of Ontario that'll make that decision. Yeah, right. No.
Okay, Council, what think ye of the suggestion by Ron that we make him an annual event, probably in August, to give you time to have your annual assembly and then also provide us with the report that you give? Then we
Absolutely,
could.
I'd be happy to do it.
Okay, good idea. And Amos,
I'll move that we invite him back in August, a year from now, to present an annual report.
Assuming I'm still around.
Oh, yeah.
the chair,
Second it?
Both of
the
us.
chair, seconded by Audrey. Hands in favor? All in favor, passed. We'll see you next year or your successor.
Thank you very much. Well, that's a good point. Thank you, Cynthia.
And thank you for coming out and explaining
No problem.
our wealth.
Yeah, thank you all. Thanks for the time.
Okay, next on number 3 under the delegations, we have the Rivermen lacrosse team, a donation request. And I assume are these 2 gentlemen over here are anxious if we could ask you to come forward to those seats. And did you hear the instructions? If you press the button, it'll turn red. That means our audience, because it's streamed, our audience can hear you as well. If you would not mind, just introduce yourselves first.
Yes, good morning. Jeff Paulus here.
Good morning, Wayne Hill, President of the Rivermen. Take it away, Jeff.
Good morning, everyone. So we're here, as you may know, Six Nations Rivermen recently won our 6th Ontario Championship last weekend. With that, we're going to be representing Ontario in the President's Cup in Ladner, BC. The plan is to fly out Saturday morning. We'll be there from the tournament takes place September 24th. August 24th through September 1st. So we're here to request funding, sponsorship to assist with our travel. and our team needs while we're in British Columbia.
Dale, then Hazel.
Jeff, I'm just looking at your paperwork there. And I think I read it when it says you're going to BC, but your paper says you're only going to Oakville. Says, but it's got last year's date, so I don't know what that's
Yeah.
about.
I'm not too familiar with that one. I didn't submit the letter, so I'm just here to speak. So, yeah, we're going to Ladner. The budget is basically the same. We added the flight center. So, yeah, so that's the breakdown right there. It's all with updated numbers.
What is their request? Paper's right, this part's right, must be the briefing note that has it there. Must be the briefing note that has it, if you look on this page, it's on here.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at her package, that's all. It's first part of the paperwork. It's in the open agenda, and you scroll down to it, it's below the agenda. You just gotta scroll down there, and they have their package and their information there. How many players are there?
There's total 26 players, and we have 10 staff members that will be accompanying the team as well.
So 36 in total.
36 members, yes.
I was gonna ask about how
Recording stopped.
much is your total ask that you want as a donation from council?
10 to 15,000 would be the total ask.
Is that-
Yeah, like Wayne and I have been working pretty hard the past week, approaching different people within the community to ask for assistance with this as well. So we're pretty close to our goal right now.
Okay.
So 10 to 15,000 would put us right at the mark we were looking for.
Yeah, just like what Jeff said, we've kind of been putting our boots to the ground and going to different community members just for in support for financially, right, with the guys on the team, and you know, and every little bit helps, you know, because with it being a community team and all that, so all the community members and whatever we can get really goes a long ways, and it's really appreciated. And it's kind of crazy how when the team first started in 2013, we made our first President's Cup appearance was 2014, 10 years ago, and we played at Coquitlam. I just find it really full circle that, you know, 10 years later, we're going back out to BC, and there's a few guys still involved that were on that first President's Cup team when we went out there, including myself. So it really means a lot, you know, than just even asking for help financially like this. You know, it's gonna be appreciated more than you know, and you know, everybody on the team, all the guys,
Recording in progress.
doing the bench staff and that, you know, it's just not a basic trip. You're not going out there for a vacation. To us, it's a business trip, right? We're here to represent our community. You know, all the guys started playing lacrosse here. A lot of community members, guys outside the community members that want to play for us and have been here. So we're going out there for a purpose.
Other questions, comments? Dale, then Hazel again.
So just to clarify again, Jeff, because I know just your package here, and I know you haven't submitted, because it's actually asking for $87,360. So I'm just following what's on the paperwork
Like
here.
that one's wrong, right? That was from what our last GM last year, Marco. What was it initially when we went over? It was like 90 grand just to
Yeah,
survive
total-
out there.
Yeah, total 90, you fundraise 3,500, and the balance it says is 87,360.
So that would have been based on when we originally submitted the request. So since then, like I said, we're able to secure funds from other community members that have offset that cost.
And I guess my other question is, Jen, what's in that donation fund? What's the balance of the donation fund yet?
The donation funds with you?
I think, was there a set aside for sports as well, Nathan? Or it was, yeah, I thought there was a set aside for sports things too. I wasn't sure what the balance was though.
Unlimited.
Yeah, the form that was completed here was a general donation request form. And what we've been working on, because of limited funds and our expensive population, was to limit it to youth. So we're in the process of doing that. But then remember when we had our priority meeting for different financials, I thought we did identify funds to set aside. Did we not? Do you recall what that was, Jennifer?
Yes, that was a general fund for items, from external organizations.
And what was the amount of?
It was a total set aside of 75,000.
Clarify, Dale. You noted that they were going to Oakville. When I was looking at the app, that was, they said, have you received funds before? And I said yes, and it was to go to Oakville last August, right?
Correct.
Amos.
Yeah, Jennifer, we're almost halfway through the year, or if not halfway through the year. How much of it is left in that fund?
We just set that up.
Oh, so it's still all there, and there's still 6 months
Well,
left.
it's not still all there because there was a short list of things that were already being considered for it.
Oh, okay, but we haven't approved those ones
We
either.
haven't approved those ones either.
Okay, okay.
And this is like eminent. You have to get with it.
Yeah,
And you had
yeah.
a total budget of 90, and you've raised through other means, you've raised, I think you're left with a balance, and because you're saying 10 to 15,000.
Yes, correct. Yeah, we fly out Saturday morning, so like our flights are booked, our hotels booked, our car rentals are booked. Like,
That's the issue that's faced by our various sports teams, because there's always these playoffs to determine are we going to go or not. So you don't know. It's not a matter of, gee, where are you coming at the 11th hour for? Because you don't know until the 11th hour. Or Nathan, did you? Sorry, Audrey, I got to remember to look up there at the screen. Audrey.
Yes, I think it's very worthwhile that we support our lacrosse because that's our game, and these people work very very hard to get to where they are. So I think we should be supporting them. So I'd like to make a motion that we do support them, and I just need to ask Jennifer what we can afford. I put it at 15, 12 and a half, or 10. Jennifer, what can we afford?
Thank you, Audrey. Um, I mean, really, it's to the choice of this council. We've had the discussions in the last few weeks about how much we're willing to set aside for community endeavors and community externals. I don't think you quite heard my response because I was off mic when we were talking about how much it was. We had discussed a couple of weeks ago that we would set aside $75,000 for external agencies and things like this. We do have a short list of organizations that are waiting to hear back from us to make the decision on that. So if it could get fit inside of that, then that would be fine. But $75,000 at $15,000 at a time does dwindle it quite quickly.
Thank you, Jennifer. Melba, then Hazel. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Melba. Hazel had already asked before. Then you.
Can I finish mine then?
Sorry. I am just sorry all over the place here. You continue there, Audrey.
Thank you, dear. I think I would like to make the motion for $10,000.
Motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second
I'll
it.
second.
Who's that?
Elena.
Elena? Gee, I didn't even know
Can
you
I?
were on there, Elena.
I'm right here. Can I add Audrey to the motion that the receipts for the whatever the 10,000 is used for be um sent over to finance?
once the event is completed?
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, we'll do that for sure.
Okay, we have a motion to advance as per the request of the Rivermen of $10,000 for their playoff in BC. Moved by Audrey and seconded by Elena. Hands in favor? Are you in favor? Okay, all in favor, motion passed. Can we ask for a second reading on that? Mover and seconder? Elena, are you
Yes.
agreed?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, good luck out there.
All right, thank you very much. I just want to thank
Oh, I'm
everyone
sorry.
for their time. Thank
Again,
you.
I'm so
He was proud,
sorry,
guys.
Arlo. It was Hazel wanted to say something as well as did Melba.
Well, the motion has already passed, but I was gonna ask, did you have a bake sale, Wayne?
Crushed it.
Thanks.
Yeah, I certainly agree with, certainly donating. I think you've been in place a long time. You've, provided a lot of entertainment for our community, brought our families together at a lot of the games, elders who enjoy your games. So I really appreciate you're in place, and, hopefully you're successful with the President's Cup. Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
gentlemen,
luck.
and good luck out there.
Look forward to the party.
Okay, under our number three delegations, we have Andre Kramarenko. Is he online? Oh, check the lobby, I guess. And Nathan's just going to see if Andre is in person. And that is, he's got a request to drone over Six Nations of the Grand River Territory. Is that in the Dropbox, Rebecca? Oh, again. And he's not online? I guess when you snooze, you lose, right? Onward then. Number 4, adoption of general finance minutes. We've had the opportunity to peruse that. Do we have a mover for the minutes? Hazel. Seconder for the minutes. Carrie. All in agreement? Hands? Okay, that's passed. Number 5 is the ISK.
Sure.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just to go back to that 3C, I guess someone can reach out to him and communicate it to him, because he's got his letter there asking what he wants, and then we wanted to do it this weekend, so I guess we gotta communicate and tell him that it's not approved.
Okay, Jennifer.
Chair?
Oh,
I
yes,
in
Helen.
there?
Helen, yes.
I don't know, the minutes that we're passing are July 15th. I think there's more minutes to pass someplace I saw on the agenda, I thought. Those are July 15th.
Jennifer is vigorously shaking her head. No.
No? Oh, so where's the last finance meeting?
Those would
So
have been
July.
in camera, we're informed.
Oh, all right.
A number. Okay, next, number 5 on the agenda is the ISK Comprehensive Funding Agreement. It's amendment number 127. Jennifer.
Thank you. So this is for the ISK Comprehensive Funding Agreement Amendment number 127, whereas Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council has entered into a 5-year comprehensive funding agreement with Indigenous Services Canada. And whereas the Contribution Funding Agreement Amendment number 127 has been received for Council's approval and signatures. Therefore, be it resolved that Six Nations of the Grand River elected council approve and sign the following comprehensive funding agreement. Amendment number 127 for fiscal year 2024-25 between His Majesty the King and Right of Canada as represented by the Minister of Indigenous Services and the Six Nations of the Grand River. Amendment includes additional funding for the following departments, programs, and projects. So Health Services Integration Fund for $300,000 and Asset Management Plan for $99,730. So total amendment is $399,730.
Dale, question.
And just a question, Jennifer, I know on this, our hard copy of our agenda, it has 127, but on the online stuff, it has a 130 in there as well, so we just take out, the 130 has to come out?
I'm just gonna raise my hand and tell you, Monday.
Okay, Becky.
Last minute, we added 130, so it is 127 and 130.
It's 127 and 130? Okay, so I apologize. Yes, it's 127 and 130. So we
what-
should add 130 to it.
So a total
So I
of,
think that the 127 was the 300,000
Yes.
and then the 130 was the 99,730.
The
No?
eight- There's 99,730 and there's another one for 8,400.
Correct.
what is the grand total then?
There's two separate ones, and the ones,
But this is for amendment number 127, I'm asking.
and then 130 is for 8,400, and it is for the health, medical center.
Okay, so in addition to this amendment number 127, there's also amendment number 130. And amendment 130 is not listed in the minutes as of yet, but we will add it to the minutes. And that is for $8,400. And that is for the health center. So there's two amendments that, but the one is not listed in the minutes as you see them right now. But when we publish the formalized minutes, we will include that 130 for the $8,400. It's on the printouts that the counselors have, but not on the one that's on my computer screen.
So what we're asking council's approval on is just amendment 127, correct? But and that one's not on here.
Yeah, on the hard copy that you have sitting in front of you, the 130 is missing, but on your online agenda,
Okay.
it does include the 130. So it's opposite of what Jennifer said. So the amendment number 130 is for the health facilities bracket health center, which is for $8,400.
Okay, and the 127 is what appears here, the 399,730?
Yes.
Okay. Do we, can we do them together or separate, Jennifer? Those amendments?
Yeah,
Let's do it separately.
we're just signing, your motion is for us to sign them, correct?
Yes, that is correct. My
So,
motion is for you to
I don't see
sign
a problem
them.
doing both of them because it's a motion for council to authorize both of them for 127 and 130.
Okay, mover for that.
I'll
Dale?
move.
Amos? Hands in favor?
I have a question, Cynthia.
Yes, Audrey.
Should we be stating on there that we're asking which person to sign? Like normally, most of them say the chief sign.
This is for the council to sign, Audrey. So this is the one that we pass around the room.
Oh, the big long one.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Becky's floating the paper as we speak.
It
Okay.
does say that in the motion, Audrey.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a mover, a seconder, all in favor? Hands? Passed. Second reading? Agreed? All passed? Number 6 is KMP audit invoice. Jennifer?
Thank you. So item number 6 is for the KPMG audit invoice. So whereas the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council awarded a 5-year contract to KPMG for services to prepare the annual audit and a 1-year extension has been approved. Whereas KPMG has rendered services under the engagement letter dated June 19th, 2023 for the annual audit of financial statements for the fiscal year ended March 31st, 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council approve payment of KPMG invoice 800-5544510 in the amount of $72,760 for progress payment number 1 of audit services for the year ending March 31st, 2024.
Okay, mover, Melba, seconder, Amos, all in favor? Oh, Audrey has a question.
Can't hear you.
The question is, let me see that motion again. Okay, is his 5 years or 6 years done now? And do we start looking for our new firm? 'Cause I'd like to see us change firms.
Yes, that's correct. So the 2024 fiscal that we're just completing now is that 1-year extension, and then we'll be putting out to tender for auditors.
Wonderful. Now,
Just to follow up on Audrey's question, the RFP I'm suggesting should be like, it should be out there now because it's a process during the fall with everyone so busy. So it ASAP should get out there because usually in January we're called upon to confirm who is our auditor and also to have them available for questions you have.
Yeah, our plan was early September, so just in 2 weeks, we were going to be getting that ball rolling.
Very good. Thanks. Okay, now there 7. Oh, sorry, Helen.
I have a
You
question.
know what? When I'm
Yeah.
online, obviously you see all of those, but I'm not online, so I'm looking down at my papers here. Sorry, Helen.
So when is the final audit going to be for us to approve? Because we haven't approved the final audit yet. If you remember, it wasn't finished when it came to council.
Yes, so I'm sorry.
Because we were all gun ho about getting the audit done in June like it's supposed to be. And now here we are almost going into September again. We never made much of an improvement in getting our audit done like it in a timely manner like it should be.
Thanks for that question, Helen. I'm going to put my colleague Carrie on the spot over there. I believe you sit on the Six Nations Natural Gas Board, and that's been the holdup.
I questioned them when we had the meeting, and they said they had sent a draft over 2 days before we had our audit meeting here. So they sent it to Wayne.
Jennifer?
Yes, unfortunately, the draft is not what's required to complete our audit. It's the final of the Six Nations natural gas, which I believe we received last week after it was voted from the Six Nations board. So after that final component is completed, then we can roll it into our financials and complete our financials. And then bring it to council. So I'll ask for an update from the auditors today for when we can bring it back. But I know that that was the one thing that they were looking at. And then after that, then within the auditing firm, it needs to go through final approval and review before it can get sent over here. So once they have that last piece, the auditors themselves can do their final pieces to finalize what they're bringing to the council for final approval.
Okay, make sure I understand that. The draft, they had sent the draft that Carrie referred to, but the draft isn't, they need the final. And we don't have the final. It has to go to their board to be approved.
We didn't have the final when I presented preliminary numbers to you. Since then, we have received the final and sent it off to the auditors. The auditors have now included it in the financial statements, and have substantively completed the audit, but now it's for audit and partner review in the auditing firm now that it's the finalized numbers. And then once they have that completely finalized, then they can issue final draft statements for council to approve, which I anticipate will be momentarily, but I don't have the exact date at this moment.
Thanks.
Follow up, follow up.
Follow up, Helen.
Yeah, with Kerry, I guess when Kerry goes to his next board meeting, he needs to bring this up at the board that this is unacceptable. That our audit is being held up because they haven't done what they're supposed to do. So hopefully next year, Kerry can get the ball rolling and get them on schedule.
Carrie.
Yeah, like I said, when I explained why it wasn't available, they couldn't get a committee members to meet before if we had met on scheduled date, it would have been here, but we couldn't get a quorum.
Moving on then to number 7, ratification of email poll for the dental trailer.
Just a question, Chair. I'm just looking at the agenda that's online. Before you go to the next item, there's a package in there from the Aboriginal, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, in Hamilton and Brantford. They're looking for a sponsorship to buy a table at their gala, their annual gala.
Oh, you're saying it's not on this agenda?
It's not on the hard copy, but it's on the online one. How do you say that, Amos? Do you want it, Jen? Yeah. They're just looking for, see if council is willing to purchase a table or tickets for their annual event, fundraiser event.
Is it number 7 on that other one? What number is it? Because it's not on here.
It's number 8 online.
Okay, well.
It's actually number 10, but I'm sorry, and it's my mistake, and I'm just the way it appears on the way it's online, it just scrolled in before 7. So we can leave it, my apologies.
No worries. We won't slay you yet. All right, number 7, ratification of an email poll for the dental trailer. If you recall last week, everyone, of course, is aware about the state of Ganyos and having to relocate our various house staff all over the place. And it was like the 11th hour we got the email just because there was a dental type trailer at hand, but it had to be purchased right away. So that's what this is about. This particular one was moved by Cynthia Jameson, seconded by Carol Green, that the Six Nations of Grand River Council approved the following, whereas Ganyos Community Center was closed due to air quality and mold for the foreseeable future, significantly impacting the clinic's ability to see patients, whereas in collaboration with the Department of Wellbeing, Built Environment and Facilities identified a 2 operatory 48-foot dental trailer is a suitable option to purchase and locate at White Pines Wellness Center to provide interim dental care while Ganyos Community Health Center remains closed. And the trailer could be delivered in 2 to 3 weeks, whereas the dental trailer is seen as a community investment that can in the future continue to be used for outreach and mobile dental services in the community. Therefore, be it resolved that Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council approve the purchase of the 2 OP dental trailer from Tesco Specialty Vehicles in the amount of $245,000 US, which equates to 333,946 Canadian, using one-time mental health wellness funds. Nathan.
Yeah, I just wanted to also give the update that the intention for this kind of spend is to bill back also ISK.
Very good. And the other part of that, where it was moved by Cynthia and seconded by Carol Green, that Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council waive second reading. So when we're reading an email poll into the minutes to make it formal, do we again ask that same mover and seconder to confirm, or do we have another set?
That was my question.
Another set, and seeing that you're chairing, we'd have to get a new mover.
Dale?
Yeah, but the motion wouldn't, the motion would be to accept this E-line, online
Okay,
email vote.
great.
So that's all we're doing. Our motion now is accepting that online vote that occurred and putting it into the minutes as of today. So
Are you
I'll
so
move
moving?
that fact that we're accepting this.
Thank you. Second, Amos.
I have a question now.
Audrey and Dale and Carrie have questions. Can we cast the vote first and then
Yep.
follow up as for clarification? All in favor? Okay, carried. Okay, there was Audrey, Dale. Sorry, Audrey, go ahead.
So who moved it and who seconded it?
On the online, it was myself and Carol. And today, just to recognize and accept the online, was Dale and moved by Dale and seconded by, is it Amos?
I thought he had a question.
Okay. Dale, you had a question.
No, the only thing I would like to see is, Nathan, when we get this final package, that someone did an inspection on this in relation to their purchase, prior to that purchase, because I know, I mean, it's proved everything, but just make sure there's an inspection that was completed prior to purchase. And the other question is, I guess there's no brokerage things coming across the border. I assume the seller's taking care of that.
Yeah, we took care of the brokerage on Thursday, but we did have to put it in our name, but it was all taken care of by the seller.
Number 8. Oh, sir.
Yeah, on the letter from Sherry Lynn for tax exempt, it says goods and services delivered to the reserve. And then further up, it says vehicle will be picked up. Is that gonna be, I mean, it's good we're not paying the tax, but is it gonna catch up to us later on? Because it's being picked up and brought here. It'd be different if the company was delivering it from Oregon.
No, that's where the brokerage came in terms of, and why we put it in our name was for that tax purposes. But my understanding is they did deliver.
Okay, number 8. Recommendations from the community committee.
I have a comment.
Oh, sorry, Helen, go ahead.
Yeah, I sent out an email. I don't know when it was. I think yesterday, the day before that. This is totally unacceptable. What's happening at this Gan Hills, and I think we need to go to Ottawa and start raising some cane because this this is impacting our community big time, and it's not only impacting our community, it's impacting our staff. I've had people call me and complain about having to go to the family health team to get the blood work done because it's always so busy and the space is really small. And we need to get political on this. We need the chief to start setting up meetings so that we can go talk and say, what's going on here? We need to do this. And right now I'm doing a lot of research because I'm doing research in the sense of trying to find out if Six Nations ever agreed to take over that building. I remember back when the family health team was being worked on, because I sat on that committee to set up the family health team, there was talk about taking over the doctors at the Gagnos. And I remember saying to them, we can't do that because that's Health Canada's responsibility. If we take over the doctors, our Health Canada is going to tell us we have to take over the building. But at that time, we didn't do anything. But I notice now that Six Nations is taking over the doctors. We've taken over that, putting people in that building, hiring all different kinds of specialists to go in there. So I'm trying to do research if Six Nations at some point agreed to take it over. And if we didn't, then Gagnos is responsible. We need to start getting hardcore on trying to get making them fix it because it's really impacting our community.
Nathan,
Yeah, I think from a technical side, we're always welcoming the advocacy in terms of the work that's going on. I just wanted to kind of give a further update. Helen, we've already did that work and established that it is ISK's responsibility. ISK has already provided that response that yes, they are providing the resources and they know that the ownership is at their end. Um, the one thing that I would strongly suggest and plead with council not to take this down to the RGD as I saw in the email. We already have this at the minister's level and the deputy minister's level. So let's keep it at the appropriate authority and not reduce this as a priority down to the RGD because then it's just going to go absolutely nowhere. This week,
Well,
what we've done
the
is
only
we've
reason
established.
Nathan, sorry for interrupting, but the only reason I had mentioned the RDG is because Sherry Lynn keeps saying she can't get a meeting with the minister.
So
So
you get,
that's the only reason I mentioned that.
yeah, and then the next level down, if you want that meeting, is the deputy minister, and that's the area that I'm kind of occupying because on at my level I can meet with deputy ministers. I feel, and the chief has been meeting and raising this at every opportunity from what I've seen. So I think where we're at now is what I'm the work that we're doing now is we've already established and what ISK was asking was are we going forward with a new building? And we've done the assessment, and that was the 8,000 that you guys just passed. That was the assessment to determine that yes, we do need a new building. Now we're in that design phase. So once we get into that design phase, I know the team that we're working with on a technical level want to start piecing that out and getting some community engagement on this because we have to look long term. And I think, if I remember correctly, the wellness committee is starting to hear those updates and thinking about ways to get that engagement done. Because if we've established that we do need a new building, which we have, then community input is going to be important on that design because given the location, I think we're going to have to go up 2 or 3 stories in terms of looking at this long term. The final update that I'm working on this week, and I'm meeting with the 2 assistant deputy ministers this week, that is to ensure that they get module buildings so that we can move those services out of White Pines and into their own space for the time being while we complete the design as well as the construction. So there is adequate space. So I will be asking both ADMs this week when we can expect those modular buildings to come in and how quickly they can move their services over to those establishments. So I'll be updating council, and I believe a lot of this will be going to the wellness committee as well.
thank you. We have Hazel, then Amos.
Just a quick question. Nathan? Oh, is those modular just it's like a transition or temporary transition?
Yes, they're temporary transition, but similar to the dental unit, we can look and repurpose those after the fact. But they are temporary in transition.
Hazel,
Yeah, I just want to make the comment that Sherry did try many, many times to get a meeting with that Patty Hedju with regard to the Ganios, and that's where she gave her update, and she had actually spoke to the Prime Minister. So I think that was a good, a good thing that she did there. When somebody won't take action, then you go above them. So she did reach out to beyond the regional office, etc. Thank you.
Moving on then to number 8, recommendations from the community committee. Is there someone from the community committee that would like to speak to this? Melba?
Yes, there was a motion made to recommend to council to approve the required deposits for the fire gala in the amount of thirty-three $33,300 to be expensed from the OFNLP funds and will be reimbursed back once sponsorship revenues for the gala are received. And $4,800 to $500 for a Gadsby Valet Fire Guy, that's entertainment, $1,500. Ice Sculpture, $1,350. Abbey Road Entertainment, $24,908.31. And the venue will be at Mont Hill. Deposit $500. So this recommendation is for elected council to consider.
Do we have a council mover and seconder for that recommendation from the community
I
committee?
have a question.
Audrey?
Yeah, what's that $24,000 of entertainment all about? And how much is Mont Hill gonna cost besides the $500 down or deposit?
Melba?
Yeah, I don't have the answer to that, but as you can see, I mentioned that once they uh, complete the fire gala, they expect to have quite a bit of dollars where we would be certainly reimbursed. That's my understanding. So they just had to put a $500 deposit down.
Question?
Helen?
Yeah, I have a real concern with this because we've attended the fire galas in previous years, and it was just the fire gala. You got your dinner, you got, people made their little speeches and whatever you do at galas. We had our dinner. Um, there was music, few people singing from our community. Um,
An auction?
I have a real concern with this because if they're gonna raise money, they're raising fundraising money for the fire, but then they're saying they're gonna spend all this money, but then they're gonna reimburse us. So that doesn't make sense to me to go fundraise and then turn around and say, oh, we're gonna spend all this money, but we're gonna reimburse. To me, this is all of this stuff they got written here, other than Mont Hill, is the only one they need. Because without entertainment like this Gadsby, and this fire guy, and all these people, they still filled up the hall. They used to have it in Hamilton at I think it was the convention center, but I'm not sure where. They still filled the hall without all of this entertainment they got here. So they don't need this stuff. All they need to do is ask people to buy a table and come out and eat, and that's what people did. So to me, fundraising and then turning around and saying we're going to use that fundraising money to reimburse you doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you for your comments, Helen. Is there anyone from the committee would like to address that? Melba?
Sorry, I think they've gone bigger, Helen and council. As you can see with the information that you've been provided, they're going to have a casino. They're going to have raffle ticket draws. Um, they're going to have a variety of things that they've never done before. And with everything going up all over Ontario and the world and Canada, that everything costs more now. You're going to pay more for the tables, for example. So I think they're looking at making a lot of money, and I guess you have to trust them that they're going to do that. And I think council is interested in certainly taking part, so the fire department and fighters will have more access to equipment and other things that are needed for the department itself.
That
Sounds
that
like
was
sounds like a something we've never had before.
follow up,
Fundraising. Thanks.
because that I don't see none of that on this list. They always had auctions. They always sold tickets, so that's not an expense. People donate for the auction. They don't have to spend any money to do an auction. I'm talking about the stuff on this list here. Gatsby Valet, fire guy, whoever he is, ice sculpture. How's an ice sculpture going to benefit an auction other than us looking at an ice sculpture? Abbey Road Entertainment. the previous the previous galas just had our own singers from here entertaining. I remember the last one before COVID. I think they had Lacey Hill was singing. Abbey Road Entertainment at $24,000. This is ridiculous because they're supposed to be fundraising, not spending money. So that's my concern.
Sorry, Nathan, then a question by Amos.
So just to respond to Audrey's question, the venue total cost is just north of 30K. The Abbey Road Entertainment and the concept that, as I understood it when I got my briefing, was for the casino night. What that will entail is the big donors coming in will have the opportunity to purchase with their money and provide a donation for the chips. They will then take those chips and play through the casino night. After you collect all of your chips, instead of a monetary value coming back, this is where the community donations will be prizes, and you use your chips to buy tickets into those prizes. So that's the idea there. The thinking around the ice sculpture and the fire entertainment, that was because the theme of this particular gala is fire and ice. So they thought it'd be a nice touch to have the fire guy, and what the fire guy is, he's one of those individuals that eat the fire, and then an ice sculpture. In terms of and maybe this is something we should bring back for full council so you can see the entire financial plan, is the cost at this particular point is 100,000 for to put on this type of event. But we're anticipated revenues just around 220 with revenue generation for the fundraising at about 110,000. So that was the plan that was again presented likely to community with the recommendation coming here. But I'm just trying to provide a little bit more subsequent in the briefing that I received.
Thanks for that, Nathan. Was it Amos you had a question?
Jennifer, would it be more prudent, I guess, if we would consider this a loan rather than just an outright donation, or the risk is there, they're going to pay us back. But if it's a loan, there's a document that they have to adhere to. There is some risk there. I mean, even at 0.05% would be, I mean, for the administration of it. I don't know what the council would think on that, but I thought maybe a loan would be more advantageous in the language, or a line of credit. I don't know what you would call it.
Um, uh, Historically, Essentially, councils advance the funds for these types of events, with the expectation, obviously, that the event would cover the costs and it would go back into the bank account. We don't traditionally withdraw it from the OFNLP funds and then put it back. Like this is different. This is something that obviously uh, in the community committee that they've discussed, and that's the avenue that they've come up with it. So because a lot of times when you're doing something, you put money out first, right? So traditionally we do that because we do have the funds in the bank to be able to carry the time frame, because I think the gala is only a little bit away, right? So if you're putting out the money now and as they're fundraising, they're depositing it back into that same bank account, right? So normally it's just it's really just an accounting entry and then tracking mechanism to ensure that they're on par.
Oh, be, sorry, I just wanted to get clarification, and then I'll get your follow-up. Jennifer, so in the recommendation, it's an expense from OFNLP and reimbursed. So it would do just as well if we were to take out the OFNLP and put from the Six Nation of Grand River cash flow,
Yeah, our general account.
general account.
And one of the reasons for that is because any movement to or from the reserve requires council motion. So that means even while the money's coming in, if it's trickling in at $1,000 or whatever a time, I would have to repeatedly bring this back to put the money back into OFNLP. And OFNLP actually is a separate bank account. So it would be best if it was just that it was
General
being
account.
advanced from the general account and being reimbursed back into the general account.
Just before I ask for a mover and a seconder and ask about the revision, suggested revision, Amos had a question or comment?
Yeah, just,
Question two.
oh, I just had, lately we've been doing a lot of this spending and without policy. So maybe we should start writing policy to paper so that we know when we can do this, and the legal ramifications, whether it's with the audit or considerations, that the auditors know that we've, as a council, agreed to be moving money around like this. And when it comes up, just suggesting, I mean, that's what we were advised with my other organization, that we should start writing policy on some of this stuff. It's all goodwill, mind you, but still the paper trail is with the policy. I just
Jennifer?
suggest, and I'll move on this motion.
Um, Actually, the fire gala is included in their operating budget. So fundamentally, you've already approved this when you approve their operating budget. This is just the detailed plan that's coming forward. I don't know how this has been handled in the past, or if it's because now with the committee structure and getting departmental updates that things like this are coming up. But typically, the gala revenue and then the gala expenses and then whatever the proceeds of the gala is going to be used is included in their operating plan, and included in their operating budget, and all of that gets approved when we approve the budget for the fiscal year, if that makes sense.
Audrey, you had a question, but we have a mover for this with the revised wording. Moved by Amos, second by Melba. Did you have a comment before we go to,
Yes, I do.
yes, go ahead then.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm to like to know how much they made when they did their last gala. And I guess, does anybody have that off the top of their head right now, like Jennifer, Nathan?
I don't, and Jennifer's shaking her head, but we can definitely take a look at that.
Yeah, these are the types of things that would be nice to know ahead of time. Like if Jennifer wasn't here today, we wouldn't know all about this already being pre-approved by council. So there is really no improvement because we already approved it. Um, yeah, I'm with Amos. We need to get some policy done, and we need to have more transparency in what's going on. And we should have had somebody here who really knew what was going on with us, like somebody, I don't know, whoever created this idea to be here to speak to it because it's you keep asking questions just to try and pull out what they're doing. So we need more transparency. We need policies, and we also need to know what's going on ahead of time. You
Thank you, Audrey. We have mover Amos and seconder Melba for the recommendation from community committee. With the revision where it reads OFNLP funds will be from the Six Nations of Grand River general account, as well as the funds will be reimbursed to the Six Nations Grand River general account. All in favor? Hands? Opposed? One,
I'm opposed. I am opposed.
two opposed. That's the majority. That's the motion is passed. Does that, Dale, you're our logistical person, does that meet the thing where we can do the second reading? We're able? Okay, we're gonna ask, are you agreeable to second reading, mover and seconder? And those in agreement? Against? Second reading?
recorded vote too, please.
Okay. Helen, are you against the second reading?
I'm opposed, but go
Yeah,
ahead and do it.
okay.
And Cynthia, could I just let you know that because I don't know what's going on with the $24,000, nobody seems to know. Like that's that transparency. So that's why I'm voting no.
Thank you. Nathan?
Welcome.
Yeah, just to be clear, that's what I explained on the $24,000, that it's going to the casino company that's putting on the charity portion of the casino, the fundraising aspect. So that's what I just laid out.
And number 9, agreement reports. Jennifer? You are correct. Recommendation number,
Cynthia,
yes?
there's another item before agreement reports on my agenda.
That be number 8, recommendation 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one we're just doing. And that one is,
This is the Dylan Isaacs thing? Dylan Isaacs Memorial, they're
yes,
asking
you
for,
are correct. That is the one.
yeah.
Okay, and this one also comes from the community committee. Is it okay if I just read this rather than, because I think Dean's the chair of that and he's absent. So I'll just read it if that's okay with everyone. It was, this from community committee was moved by Melba Thomas, seconded by Leslie Green, that the community committee recommends Six Nations Grand River Elected Council to waive the community hall rental fee for the Dylan Isaacs Memorial Basketball Tournament being held August 22nd to the 25th, 24. Do we have a mover for that? Melba, seconder. Dale, or you have a question? I have a seconder, Amos, and a question by Dale.
I guess just clarification in regards to, I guess for the records, I guess sometimes you got Leslie, sometimes you got Carol. So going forward consistently, we need to have something that's gonna be in the minutes, cause these are gonna be in the minutes, cause one time we're reading Carol, next set of minutes, we're reading Leslie, so 10 years from now, somebody's gonna say who's who. So whatever one we're gonna do, I guess we need to clarify which name, are we gonna put Leslie/Carol or Carol/Leslie, that's all, just to be consistent.
And that's a good recommendation. We're going to put it to, can we have someone follow up with Leslie Carol Green via email and get her to confirm what's the preference going forward? Just explain this. Nathan's got his thumb up there, so he's going to take that on. Thanks. Okay, we do have Melba is moved, seconded by Amos. All in favor, hands. Hands against? Okay, see none against, so the motion is carried. Second reading, mover, seconder, hands in favor? Second reading is waived. Number 9 is the agreements.
Yeah, Cynthia, can I make a comment to Dale's
Go ahead.
response? Yeah, that's been happening with me. Some of the agreements I sign, it has R. Helen Miller, and some of the agreements I sign, it has Helen Reva Miller, and some of the agreements I sign, it just says Helen Miller. I'm signing all different kinds of agreements, and I have different names every time. So I go by R. Helen Miller. That's what should be on any agreement. But I noticed the last one I signed, it had Helen Reva Miller. So that needs to be straightened out.
Those federal government issued documents that you're referring to where they're mixing you up? The long form? Is that, Nathan, is that what the trouble is?
That's what I'm kind
Yeah,
of
it's
seeing, and
yeah.
I can follow up with the funders on that one too. So I'll
Okay.
take that on as well.
Okay, Helen, Nathan will follow up. Now we're on to number 9, agreements report, Jennifer. Oh, sorry, Audrey, did you have a question? No, shaking her head, no.
Your hand's up on your screen there, Audrey.
How's that?
Thank you. So, item number 9 for agreement updates. This is the monthly agreement update for agreements that we've entered into that did not require full council signature. So was signed on your behalf by Chief Nathan and or myself. So this the first sheet that you would have received in the Dropbox is the new agreements that we've entered into in the time period of July 15th up until August 19th. And that comes to a total of $4,041,139. And then the second and third sheet is the growing list. So I've provided the interim agreements, so the agreements that have been entered into since the last update in July, and then also from the beginning of the fiscal year. So that is viewable in your Dropbox and also up on the screen.
Dale,
Jennifer and Nathan, I guess I understood when you were bringing these that there would actually be like a motion would be post approval to authorize the post approving these signatures that have been done. So I'm pretty sure that still has to occur because council's the ultimate signing authority. So I don't know if the original motion clarified all that, Nathan, or, but I understood that when these things came, there would be a resolution from council to accept your update and motion, post approval of those.
Yeah, the original motion did cover that, but I think Jennifer and I are still in discussions on how to do it for the post approval piece.
Yeah, we'll revisit the motions because I know it was moved and rescinded and adjusted, and I will find out what the final motion states. And then we'll provide an update on our understanding, make sure that we're all on the same page. And if it needs to be listed as a motion in the minutes, we'll do that on a move forward basis when I'm presenting these.
Yeah, no, it's just that council's the actual authorization for those regardless of the dollar amount, and I know you've signed them, but that's why I was saying post approval to author, post approval on the authorization of those, signing of those agreements, that's all.
we have Becky gonna clarify and then Amos.
Okay, the last time her agreement was brought, that's what the motion was made in the minutes, that council post approve, and then all of the agreements were listed. So if it ever comes in the future, same with this agreement, then it's in there on the list. So this would be post approving this list because it's, the prior time was post approval up to July 15th.
So then I guess on the minutes, we'll add in that information, right?
Correct. If they move and second it now, it'll say they post approve this list, and it'll be from June 15th to August 19th. And then it'll be there, so like maybe 3 months from now, if they say, was this agreement approved, then we have that it was post approved and it's listed right in the motion.
Okay, Amos?
Yeah, it's, looking at Becky and Jennifer, is it something that we can do every quarter and that be part of our operations that come to council, that we approve these post every quarter? Is it more
We,
expedient to do it that way, or as you get them, 10 of them at a time or whatever? I'm looking at policy again, right? I know you got the authorization, just wanted to know when we know it's gonna come to us, if it's every quarter or every 3 months, whatever.
when we had discussed how this would be done, we had said that we would present monthly. So we have it as a standing item on the second, or the third Monday, I guess it is, the third Monday of every month. So, right now, it looks like every general finance meeting I'm doing it, but that's only because of stat holidays and things that have canceled the first version of the general finance. But if we were having those 2 monthly meetings, it would only be showing up once per month.
Everyone good with that now?
Yeah. So as Becky has suggested, I'll move on that, then council authorize the post approval of this set of agreements.
Second,
Moved by Dale, seconded by Amos, that council approve, post approval on as presented. Those agreements that were signed by Nathan and Jennifer. All hands in agreement? Against? Motion is carried. Second reading? We don't need it? Okay, good enough. Number 10 is a sponsorship request for Dewadines Nay October Moon Gala, October 17th, and the letter is in your following the agenda in your on the email. Tickets can be purchased in advance for $250 a person or $1,800 for a table of 8. Deadline for tickets is October 4th. Does somebody know what this is? Janet Gasparelli, Chief Executive Officer. It says the Aboriginal Health Center.
That's what they were.
Oh, but what, does anybody familiar with this, or where is it, or?
It's a, I, it's a health center in Brantford, and they service all of the First Nations people in Brantford, and it's been there for a number of years. They do lots of good work. Lots of people use it from Six Nations because all the people living in the city. So I would support this buying a table for this.
Okay, just before, Nathan, do you have anything to add? Then Amos had a comment.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add is I understand this one is for specific capital projects that they're looking to build Indigenous community well-being centers in both Hamilton and Brantford. Some of it's renovations of a current building, some of it is for new buildings. So there, I understand this is a fundraiser. All the proceeds would go to those capital projects.
Amos?
Yeah, it is for those two hubs, one in Brantford and Hamilton, and it's called Date with Addition. It means we help ourselves, look after ourselves. Yeah, it's been going for a while, and I was on the early committee, on the board, when they started down that road to build their own physical hub. And they do integrated health system like we're trying to establish here. It's all there from birthing to end of life. So they do a lot of those services. They do quite well.
Okay, do we have a mover and a seconder? Oh, sorry, Helen, you're the mover?
I'll move, yeah.
The table?
I move that council buys a table.
Moved by Helen, seconded Amos. Hands in favor? Against? Motion is passed. Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, I guess there's more for Nathan. Nathan, if we can't get enough of the councilors that want to go, then you can open it up to staff and maybe health department or whatever, or whoever.
Okay, number 11, Stanley Cup Parade expenses. That Nathan or Jennifer?
Okay, so I just wanted to provide an update. Our anticipated cost for the Stanley Cup Parade before the emergency response came into play was just a bit over the budget you guys provided. So what we expensed out was $54,180. And that was for the media conference, event support, the decorations, the advertising, the signage, additional cooling for the arena, as well as the merchandise giveaways such as the hockey cards and the pucks and the shirts that were purchased. So we were on budget for that 50, just a bit over the event there for those aspects of things. When it was determined that the numbers coming in far exceeded what our community could handle, that's when our cost ballooned. And I did caution council the night before that it was getting upwards north of 125 to 150, and it's a little bit higher now. For the safety requirements, security company as well as the police, our IMS response, as well as the communication, crowd controls, and those were the line barriers, the tents, and the fencing, additional porta potties, as well as water stations, as well as the stage in the arena so we could get everyone in. That put our event up to 184, 187.
Thanks for that, Nathan. Do you have any questions, council? Audrey?
I'll move.
Moved by, the report is moved by Audrey. Financial report for the parades, Stanley Cup Parade. Do we have a seconder? Dale? Hands in favor? Against? Seeing none, the motion is passed. I have a motion to adjourn into the in-camera. Hazel, seconded by Audrey. In favor? Against? Seeing none, motion is passed. We are now adjourned into the in-camera portion.
Recording stopped.